Okay, here we are back for part 2 of the video. So the last question I did was question 12. Remember, we're doing exercise 10J. I'm currently on page 533. Okay, so we'll have a look at question 13. It says the highest and lowest temperatures recorded over a 7-day period are as follows. Okay, let's do all of these. Okay, which day had the largest temperature increase? Okay, so for each of the 7 days, it has the minimum temperature, the lowest temperature, and the highest temperature. So you've got to do the highest temperature minus the lowest temperature, and that tells you the temperature increase between the lowest and the highest temperature. Okay, so when you do all of those, okay, day 1 it increased by 16, day 2 it increased by 21, day 3 it increased by 21, day 4 it increased by 23, day 5 it increased by 14, day 6 it increased by 11, day 7 it increased by 19. Okay, so day 4, when it went from 9 up to 32, that's a difference of 23, so that was the largest temperature increase, day 4. Okay, question B, what is the largest drop from the highest temperature on one day to the lowest temperature on the next day? Okay, so you've got to look at the highest temperature on day 1 and then compare it to the lowest temperature on day 2. Then you've got to look at the highest temperature on day 2 and compare it to the lowest temperature on day 3, etc., etc. Okay, so, all right, okay. So the first difference is 18, the next is 17, the next is, what's that, 22, the next is 25, the next is 13, and the next is 9. Okay, so the biggest difference is from the highest temperature on day 4 to the lowest temperature on day 5, because that's from 32 to 7, and that is a 25-degree drop, and that's the biggest drop that we can see there. Okay, it's just a matter of looking at it and then just working it out for each one. Okay, see what would have been the final temperature on day 7 if the temperature increase had been 16. Okay, so the temperature increase was actually 19 because it went from 10 to 29. But if it had only increased by 16, well, it would be 10 plus 16, so it would have been 26 degrees. Okay, so that's questions 1 to 13, which you had to do. It also said to do question 19. All right, and this is just a bit of like, it's interesting. It's something you might come across in science because we usually measure temperature in Celsius. Okay, in America, they measure temperature in Fahrenheit, which you would probably know. But there's another way of measuring temperature, and it's a way that is mostly used when you're talking about scientific things, and it's called the Kelvin, okay? And the symbol for the Kelvin is a K. So it says here, the Kelvin is a temperature unit mainly used by scientists where 273 Kelvin is approximately 0 degrees Celsius. Celsius is also called centigrade sometimes, by the way. Okay, so write the following temperatures in Celsius. Okay, so the first one is 283 Kelvin. All right, so if we think about it, okay, it said that 273 Kelvin is 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, now it is asking us, what is 283 degrees Kelvin? Okay, it also says that every time you increase by 1 degree Kelvin, that's the same as increasing by 1 degree Celsius. Okay, so 283, well, that's 10 more than 273, and 273 is 0. So the first answer must be 10 degrees Celsius. Okay, then it says, what is 300 degrees Kelvin? Okay, well, that's 27 above 273. So that's 27 degrees Celsius. Then it says, what is 1,000 Kelvin? Okay, so then you do 1,000 minus 273. So that would be 827 degrees Celsius. Okay, which is pretty hot. Okay, and then write the following temperatures in Kelvin. So we're going the other way now. Okay, first one, 0 degrees Celsius. Well, it already told us that that's 273 degrees Kelvin. 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, so we do 273 plus 40. Okay, so that would be 313 degrees Kelvin. And then minus 273 degrees. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Okay, that's 273 minus 273. So minus 270 degrees Celsius, that's what 0 Kelvin is, 0 Kelvin degrees. And that's an interesting temperature because that's something which is called absolute zero. That's the coldest that anything can get. There's actually a limit to how cold something can get. And this is something I'm sure you'll do in science at some point. But if you make something minus 270 degrees, like it's not exactly that, but it's about that, you can't actually make it any colder because the atoms, the electrons, and so on, they stop moving. Okay, it's not possible to make it colder. All right, that's more of an enrichment question though, and it's just interesting. Speaking about Fahrenheit, there's actually question 20 on Fahrenheit. And if you ever move to the United States, you might need to know all about Fahrenheit because they're sticking to Fahrenheit. I think there's only about 2 countries in the world that use Fahrenheit, and all the other countries, including us, use Celsius. It's America and like some tiny country in Africa. Okay, those are my videos on exercise 10J. Now, I haven't been told when there's another quiz or assessment to do. I guess it'll be next term sometime, so I wouldn't be worried about any of that at the moment. Now, at the end of chapter 10, what I recommend you do if you have time for it is there is multiple choice chapter summary questions to do, and that gives you a little bit of questions covering everything in the chapter. And then there's extended response questions to do, okay? Not many actually, just a few. And that gives you some more extension work to do. So I recommend you have a look at that if you've got time. All right. Now, I was going to do a Zoom on Friday, but I can't do that because it's device-free day. So I've posted on Google Classroom that there is a Zoom on Thursday, okay? Today's Tuesday, so there's a Zoom in 2 days. It's on the Google Classroom. It's at 12:20 or 12:15. I forget what I put up because that would be the same as period 4 when we would normally have English or maths. I can't remember which one, as per the usual timetable. Okay, so I hope to see some of you then. Have a good day. Bye-bye.